Hello, this is EJK, and this is going to be VOD is going to be a couple games TvZ against my teammate Mick Monroe, and we're going to be testing out some of the new changes that have been made to Terran. I do believe that Blizzard has not completely, they're definitely not done with their changes. Protoss needs an early to mid game change to deal with the Cyclone, and they're also going to need something to deal with the Hydra buff and the Zergling, or the Baneling buff too, because Hydra Bane is gonna be a lot more powerful in the ZVP matchup, and Protoss so far hasn't really gotten any buffs. Just charge lots move faster, which is like, okay, that's I'm not sure if that's really cool or not. I wouldn't be too happy if I was a Protoss player. So this game is a TvZ, and what I used to do before this patch is I like to go for 2 factory. I'll make a Cyclone, and I'll use it for its anti-air capabilities. I'll use it to shoot overlords down. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I only use it to shoot overlords down. I don't even get the mag field accelerator upgrade because it just takes too much time, and they're too easily countered by Zerglings. So with the new Cyclone, they're still countered fairly well by Zerglings if you don't have any supporting units. And their role now, instead of being a more late game unit, they're now an early to mid game ground unit. They have almost no anti-air capabilities. Their lock-on is not an auto lock-on anymore, and it cannot kill an Oracle, it cannot kill a Liberator, and it cannot kill an Overlord, which is pretty sad. It just simply does not deal enough damage. So, my opener, now that Cyclones also don't need a tech lab, I don't need a tech lab on my second factory either. So this was just the build that I was experimenting with throughout our practice games. It's not something that I plan on sticking to or anything. This is just for me to see the different changes that Blizzard has been pushing through and that they want going forward. And the only thing that's really very clear to me is that this is a mech patch, and mech is here to stay, and at the same time, they're trying not to decrease the viability of bio, which I like. I think bio is still going to remain very strong. It might not. The only problem is it's not going to scale as well as mech towards the later stages of the game, which I'm pretty fine with. It never made sense to me that bio was always kind of stronger than mech, like a bio versus ground mech. It was always stronger than mech, and like it always scaled up better too, and mech just had nowhere to go after you made your initial units out of your factory. Unless you had a significant economic advantage, if you were playing in an even game, you were already behind and destined to lose, basically, which wasn't very fun to play. So all the new changes that Blizzard has given has essentially strained out the tech tree, so that bio and mech are about equal, but then towards the later stages of the game, mech really starts to show its power with the upgrades complementing the air units, and battlecruisers also being extremely strong too. Battlecruisers now are actually a unit instead of a joke, or a unit that never gets used, like an antique. So that's cool. They are very expensive still, and there's no way that you can safely tech the battlecruisers on 4 bases. You need 5 bases 100%, otherwise you just can't afford to get that critical mass of battlecruisers. So right now, the game's picking up a little bit. I got my 2-factor build going on. This was kind of my stylistic build in the beginning of Legacy of the Void. The Overlord Scout scouted me, and I simply didn't even do anything because the Cyclones take way too long to kill the Overlord off. And this is, like, I could either have my Cyclones killing the Overlord off, and then I'd be out on the map a little bit later, about 10 seconds later, and not being able to hit this nice little window that the Zerg player was unprepared against. So yeah, the Cyclone just has no anti-air attack capabilities. They also do, so they do damage very fast, kind of like a stimmed Marine. and they do a lot of damage against armored units. They get like 100% damage increase against armored units, but they don't get any increase against light units. So Adepts, Zealots, Zerglings, Marines, Hellions, all those good units, they're all natural counters to the Cyclone now. If the Cyclone isn't being target fired on armored units, you're almost gonna always take a bad engagement. Cyclone also has almost no micro capabilities anymore. You simply attack move them, and then you target fire on the units that you want them to attack. There's no more kiting. You literally cannot kite with the Cyclone. It's almost impossible, because as soon as you start kiting, they stop attacking. So you can't, you won't get far trying to kite. So I did my little pressure. I did an okay amount of pressure, I would say. I'm taking my third base. I have a reactor on my starport fairly fast. Mutalisk transitions can be fairly strong because of the Liberator nerf and their splash damage. You definitely need a Thor out against Mutalisks now if you want to survive against them. And even against Corruptors, Thors do fairly well with their armor change. And I got that damage buff against armor. So Thors are essentially an anti-air unit. Cyclones are more of a ground-based unit. Tanks are definitely a ground unit with no mobility. They're there to take different spots on the map and secure them. It's I love the new tank. The tank is a lot more stronger. I can spread 4 tanks out and I won't get crapped on, and then just like it won't be a joke anymore, which is nice. So just clearing out some creep spread. I was already ahead enough. The Cyclones and Hellions forced out enough units so that I was able to clear the creep without too much hazard, and then now I'm able to clean flames. So I would say I'm in a pretty good spot. At this point in the game, though, I'm thinking, so this is Frost. A 5th base is very hard to take, especially in these positions. What is my strategy here? So I know that if I get to battle cruisers, I'll almost always win the game. Unfortunately, I need 5 bases to do that. I was kind of trying to hit a timing push here, but I believe this was the second game out of the 3 games that we played. I'm not going to be going over the first one, but in the first one, I learned that Hydras are very good units. So any notion of me wanting to push out, I think, just does not work against creep spread, Hydralisks, and some meat shield like Zerglings or Roaches or Ravagers. Basically, Mech has become stronger without actually being able to, but only in its defensive capabilities, so that you're able to safely tech to battle cruisers and or starport units. So what Blizzard wants us to do now is, after we get our factories, they want us to tech really fast to starports, and then either get like Banshee speed for harass, Liberator range for harass, maybe even both. I doubt both, because you shouldn't have enough money for both. And then finally going up to battle cruisers. Or you can even get Ravens and then go up to battle cruisers as well. I think Ravens have finally found their place again in this matchup. Their PDD is very useful, especially against the new Hydralisks. The auto turret does a little bit more damage. I'm not too concerned with that in this matchup. The auto turrets should almost never be getting cast because they don't do enough damage. They don't have enough range, they don't do enough damage, they don't have enough tankability to really make them very worthwhile. So a little bit of, I guess, like microing. Cyclones are significantly slower, so they can be chased off of creep, which is something that happened there. So right now, I'm in like an okay spot. I don't really have a game plan at this point. I'm just kind of in a defensive posture, and I feel like I've lost my timing window to push out. I'll have to work on that some more, explore the possibilities. But for now, I'm just looking to get to 4 bases, to go to Starport Tech and see how that feels. Because I don't even know if that's even a good idea or not, to be honest. So I'm just going out to take my 4th base. I love just spreading my tanks out, because you have like 4 to 5 spread out tanks. They not only buy enough time, like they kill units fast enough so that your reinforcements can get there and keep the tanks alive, but they just feel a lot stronger and they're just, you can tell that they're a lot stronger. You can have them spread out, and they'll just be able to protect different areas instead of just kind of doing a little bit of damage and then dying off. So I scan, I see the hive. I know he's going for some sort of hive tech. Of course, it's 10 minutes into the game. It's not too unnormal to not expect hive tech at this point in the game, especially with the lack of action. I wanted to snipe that Overlord right there, but my Cyclones don't do enough damage so that I'd be able to snipe it, which is really sad. I'm still trying to adjust to that change, that the Cyclones really don't play a big role in my TvZ matchup anymore. Like, if you make them late game, you're just gonna die. They don't have enough DPS against different units, and then they just don't attack air, so there's no reason to build them later on. Like, in the later stages of the game, you'll always be wanting to go for some sort of air-type units. Which is kind of Blizzard straightening out the text tree for you. Which I think is a good change on their part, too. So just doing some Viking harass for no reason, just because I can. Doesn't work out too well. Losing 2 Vikings isn't the biggest deal in the world, though. I'm just kind of still exploring what's going on in the game. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Zerg has 5 bases. I'm about to take my 5th. He's about to take a 6th. There's nowhere for me to take my 6th base, though. He has a lot of creep spread throughout the middle of the map, so that I can't really... I feel like I'm put into an awkward position if I try to take that 5th base, unfortunately, so I feel like that's not an option in this game. And so I'm just going to tech up to 3 starports, try to get my air going, see what's up. I need to be able to win a fight and push the Zerg player on the defensive, and then be able to clear creep and then take my base. Or take my 5th base at the same time if I'm going to successfully take my 5th base. So I'm moving out, I'm looking for a fight, I'm basically almost maxed-ish. But more importantly, I know that the Zerg player has Hive Tech out so that I can be out on the map. Counterattacks aren't going to be as strong with Hive Tech. Of course, you can still always do counterattacks. They're just going to be able to be cleaned up a lot easier. So here, I do a poor job of spreading my tanks out, and I think I lose the battle because of that. I have enough Vikings because he only has like 6 or 7 Broodlords, but all my tanks are kind of fungled right now. It's like 2 Blinding Clouds fungal, or Blinding 6 tanks. And then the Hydras just, they were a lot stronger than I thought. So I just kind of got cleaned up very fast. That +2 range on the Hydras allows them to get really, really big concaves. And so that they can just start attacking. Like, it takes very little to set up a concave with Hydralisks now. You can just kind of set them up, attack move, and then ignore them. They're also very good at sniping units as well, so they do provide better support to Broodlords, because they can zone out the Vikings a lot easier with their 7 range. So at this point I'm basically dead. But I'm like, okay, well, usually in this position I always used to make Cyclones, so I'll make some tanks, I'll make some Cyclones, maybe I'll be able to survive. I got enough Vikings to deal with his Broodlords too, or so I think, and then I see Ultralisks out. So I'm like, okay, I can try to like snipe the Broodlords. Unfortunately, the Hydralisks make it like impossible to snipe the Broodlords. Yeah, it's not going very well, and then the Ultralisks are just killing through everything. This is where it's really funny. So Cyclones, these are like +2 Cyclones right now, and they do they do like 1 or 0 damage to Ultralisks. I saw this and my heart broke. I was just like, okay, I'm never using this unit in the late game. I'm pretty sure they do at least 1. You can't do 0 damage. But yeah, +2 attack against like, I think that's like a +2 or like a +1 carapace, or no, +2 carapace Ultras with the chitinous plating. So Cyclones do like 1 damage to them. So Cyclones are definitely not the answer in the late game. So GG is called. Let's go on to the second game. So I want to show these games back to back because we're just practicing, and you guys can sort of follow my thought process as I'm looking to change things up. So obviously what happened that game was my tanks got super blinding clouded. I did a poor job of spreading them out. The Hydralisks did a lot more damage than I thought. Cyclones are really bad against Ultralisks too, and Vikings cannot snipe off Broodlords too easily with some Hydralisk support on the ground because the Hydralisk range is able to zone out the Vikings a lot more. So those are all the things that were going through my head from the previous game. So this game, Galactic Process, the 5th base is slightly more easy to take. It's still kind of far out there, going from like the 5th to 6th base. But my goal here isn't to like do some sort of timing push or be very aggressive. It's just to play a more traditional get mech on the ground, survive, go up to Sky Terran. That's mostly what the game, I think, this is what I think more standard-ish games are going to look like if you aren't doing a special timing attack. You're going to go up to like 4 bases, tech to Ravens, so you got your Raven Viking comp. Very similar to Heart of the Swarm, except there's no stalemate with the Swarm hosts. Tanks also, I don't know, it's a lot more dynamic, because you can't because although these like crappy Deathball armies that people don't like still exist, they can't be taken very full advantage of as easily as in Heart of the Swarm. The barriers to entry for the higher tech armies are a bit harder because of the economic changes. It's kind of difficult to go from 4 to 5 bases. I think that's going to be the struggling point for most mech players. Going from 3 to 4 bases is fine, but the problem that you don't want to the problem that you're going to run into is overcommitting on the 3 to 4 base stage on, say, ground defense, when you really should have been committing towards air units, so that you can like have kind of an air army and then tech to your 5th base, and then get your 5th base economy, and then finish teching to your air army. So the tech transitions are a little bit more, the execution takes a little bit longer to get used to, but the same concepts apply. You get to Terran Sky Army and then you win. Something I've missed a lot in this matchup. So these games we've pretty much been doing the same builds. This is the 3rd time in a row that I'm going to be doing my double factory opener. I think I tried it with an armory one game, and then the other game, yeah, I saw the drone and I was like, oh, I need to get the drone, but that distracted me, and then my Reaper died. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the games were very similar, and they do end up very similar, so that we're not really trying to see who's the better player here. We're just trying to test out different changes. So currently, he's been doing the same kind of style, Roach Ling into Hydras, then get some Vipers and Broodlords, which I think is a pretty solid way to play. The Hydras in the mid game give a lot of support to the rest of Zerg. They're significantly better units, and they're not like, every time I saw Hydras, I used to think, okay, I'll kill them and then I'll be ahead. There's like almost nothing I can do that won't put me ahead after killing those Hydras. But now I see the Hydras and I'm like, oh crap, I gotta be careful now. Anyways, this Overlord Scout going in again. I think about like killing it, but then killing the Overlord with 3 Cyclones is still gonna take at least 5-7 seconds. They don't kill stuff very fast in the air, so I decided to sack sacking Overlord to go hit my timing a little bit more crisply instead. So I'm like ready to do my timing. I have like an okay amount of units. This timing was a bit slower than I'd like to have been. I'd also like to have a scan here so they can scan and kill shit, and also scan the army. I tried to get a little kind of choke with the Cyclones being very bulky and the Hellions, so that I could try to like prevent the Lings from surrounding me, because I knew that would happen. Unfortunately, there was a little crack in so that the Lings were able to escape. He also did have he was able to just kind of clean that up very easily, so I'm in by no means a good spot. I've also been favoring making a Viking for my, getting a kind of a fast starport and then making a Viking, because I don't want to be on 3 factories and then have to guess if he's going for mutas or not, because if he's going for mutas, I need Thors. If he's not going for mutas, I don't want to make Thors. and not having air units makes it very difficult to know if he's going for Mutalisks or not. A good player is going to be able to skies Mutalisks. Like, it could either be Mutalisks or it could be Hydras. And so a Starport kind of just deals with both of them. So I lost a little bit of army early on. That's alright. I'm not really sweating it. I'm still in an alright spot because I'm getting my third base up. And like, my third base is going up fairly fast too. The one thing that Terran has going for them in terms of mech is that you can kind of secure a third base relatively safely now. It's not like you take a third base and then you hope your opponent's playing greedy so that you can take your third base, and if your opponent's not playing greedy, you kind of fall behind because you get your third base denied. Also, this map isn't too bad to take a third base either. Like, my third base is up and mining before 6:30, let's say, so that's a pretty good timing. I could have rushed it out a little bit faster, but having the tanks as defense and then some Cyclones and Hellions means that almost anything the Zerg does, if you scout it in time, they're not going to be able to do enough damage to bust you or anything like that. So I'm just kind of like going out. I'm not bringing any Cyclones with me with these Hellions. I'm just trying to clear some creep spread. Cyclones no longer can keep up with Hellions. That's why I'm not bringing any Cyclones with me. They're just way too slow to actually be harass skirmish type units that I've been using them as. So I go in, I wait for the scan, I scan, I'm adding my 2 factories. So this is all very, like, I guess, quote unquote, what standard game should look like between all the units. All the roles of the units are kind of being figured out for me right now. So I'm just clearing some creep spread. It's very important to keep the creep spread clear, especially in the early stages of the game. In the later stages, once they start getting like roaches and hydras out, it becomes too hard for just Hellions to clear creep spread. And I used to just bring Cyclones along with the Hellions, and then they'd be able to take care of roaches, and they do a lot more heavy harassment styles. But now I can only bring Cyclones around and hope to clear creep where my enemy isn't there, unfortunately. So I see he's going Roach Hydra again. I check his upgrades. I believe they're like 1-1, so I know he has double upgrades as well, and he has his 4th base, so he's going to be going into Hive Tech. And I'm going to be trying to take a 4th base and then a 5th base. That's all that's on my mind right now. I'm going to be expanding towards the left side, towards that left hand, towards the watchtower. This is going to be my 5th base right there, and then I'm thinking like take the watchtower, take those bases, but I ended up taking that base just because the situation calls for it. I wasn't able to get enough map control on this left hand side to be able to take those 2 other bases. So I'm not trying to push out or anything. It'd be too easy to die to counterattacks and stuff as well because of the immobility of the siege tank. Not having tank evacs is very interesting. I don't think it's made the tank evacs or the tanks any worse units, just that their roles have been changed in the game significantly. So they're not going to work the way we remember them working, but they still have a lot of potential with them. So, in this game, one of the changes that I made was I tried to take my 4th base slightly faster. I prioritized taking that and the gas. And I also only added 1 starport and a fusion core relatively early on. I think about like 130 to 140 supplies when I added that. And the idea is to kind of get some liberators to defend against hydras, and then be able to kind of safely tech into battle cruisers on 5 bases. That's what I'm going for here. The Hellions is the only map presence that I really have on the map. Maybe if I got faster Liberator range, I'd be able to do some Liberator or Harass or like Banshee Harass or something. But you don't really have many options to be aggressive from their factory units currently. And I'm pretty sure that's like what Blizzard wanted. It's like you have to go to the starport, you have to get the fusion core to like if you want to be more aggressive with mech stuff. Just getting a pretty formidable army. I'm kind of just like doing whatever with my Hellions. I know that they're not very useful, and I'm not really going to get much better value out of them currently, so I'm just going to sack them. I also get to scout his army, I scout his tech, I see the Ultralisk Cavern, I got a bunch of scans too. So, like, 3 scans. I just, like, want to confirm that there's a greater Spire on the way and that I'm playing against the same style that I've been playing against. So, I also have a lot of Liberators in my army too now, and Liberators, like, Hydralisks are really good units, but they're not broken, I would say, in this matchup. Liberators still counter them very well because they one-shot the Hydralisk, and with the Liberator range upgrade, you also still outrange a Hydralisk too. Although, I do want to say that Hydralisks are significantly stronger with their range against Liberators when they're unupgraded. I believe like Hydralisks have almost the same range as Liberators, so you can kind of just like walk through a Liberator zone and then kill a couple Liberators without taking significant losses now. So I'm still setting up. I'm not really like I'm trying to max out kind of slowly on the correct army. This is where the quote-unquote turtle mode goes into play, but I don't really consider this turtle mode. It's 12 minutes into the game. I'm about to take my 5th base. I'm just setting up to play a different kind of strategy. So instead of attacking like a bio player, you shouldn't automatically assume that if you're not attacking, you're turtling. I think that's a really wrong way of thinking about the game. I also feel like Liberator ranges are a lot shorter still, even with the upgrade, because these Liberators are like sieged up right now, and they're still like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like they're very far away. Like, I can't really spread them out too far, I guess. So he like tries to attack. The only difference is I have Liberators and my siege tanks are all spread, so this army gets absolutely crapped on. So I didn't really change anything up about my composition. I just had Liberators a little bit faster, and I was able to kill that army really fast. So like no imbalance or anything. I think these were just like the way that the games played out were just because like we did smarter things than the other players, which I'm perfectly fine with. Not that the units were actually like, better than each other. So I got my 5 starports up and I'm taking my 5th base, and I just won a major fight, so that buys me enough time to tech into battle cruisers. One thing that was really annoying me though is that there's creep spread right outside of my 4th base, and I sacked all my Hellions, and I don't want to have Cyclones in the later stages of the game. So I really had like short of like landing Vikings or using slow tanks, I really have no answer to deal with creep spread right now, which was very sad. So I just kind of like had to let it sit there, and there's so much creep spread to the top left. Like, this was a good opportunity to clear it up. I went into Banshees because I knew that I was missing some map control, and the Banshees will help keep the Zerg player in check. It'll become a lot harder for Zerg players to take like 7th, 8th bases with these Speed Banshees because they're just so fast. So I have 6 Speed Banshees out on the map, and I'm able to very, very handily clear up this creep spread, which I was pleasantly surprised with. And then these Banshees are able to clear the other creep if I had scans available. And in general, the Banshees cannot be caught. I think if the Banshee speed is nerfed, they won't be this strong. If the upgrade time takes longer, they'll still be very strong, and I'll be much happier with that, although I don't know if that's the best idea for the game. I do know that just changing the timing it takes to get the upgrade, or like how expensive it is, rather than the actual effect, will keep the game more stable. But I don't know what direction that Blizzard wants to go in the game anyways. So I'm able to clear up all this creep spread with these Speed Banshees. It's sucky that I couldn't actually use any any ground units to clear it up, but like this is a very, very clear transition into air. I have Banshee upgrades, I have Liberator upgrades, I have Liberators, Banshees with tanks on the ground, and then now I'm starting to get my battle cruisers out. I'm not really sure when you should get Ravens out, just because you don't really have enough gas to get all of them. You can only pick like 1 or 2 things at a time, so you basically just pick your poison. And I was just like, okay, I'll get the Banshees because I need the Banshees. The Liberators, I'm not too sure about. I feel like their range has been kind of nerfed. It might be a bug or something, but I don't feel like their range extends out as far as it should with the upgrade. Oh, I guess I was just no. At that base over here, it looked fine. So never mind. Never mind me about talking about the Liberator upgrade. I'm just crazy. So I got a bunch of Banshees. He's going into Corrupted Broodlord. He doesn't have any Infestors or Vipers. That's his biggest problem. I don't have any Ravens either. But I believe that with Ravens and then with Infestors and Vipers on his side, I should still win the straight-up engagement. I don't think there's really anything that beats a Battlecruiser-based army. So like I have like 5 Battlecruisers right now. And those bad boys are 5 Yamotos. Going from like 5 Yamotos to 8 Yamotos is a very big increase in your army's power. Now that battlecruisers can't just get fucked over, and not like use their Yamoto or any of their energy or stuff, or you have to like just wait too long so that you can't, like, if battlecruisers had energy, I would not be able to Yamoto in this fight or do anything. But now I got battlecruisers, they're useful. I try to blink outside. I try to blink outside of the neural parasite. I don't really think that worked very well. What it did was it made my battlecruisers invulnerable. So that the Zerg units wouldn't attack them very much, but then my battlecruisers also wouldn't be attacking either. So that instead of doing the tanking that battlecruisers should have been doing, they were just being invulnerable and not doing anything in the fight, and forcing my Vikings to tank more shots from the Corruptors. So it's definitely a wrong move there. I think the battlecruiser teleport upgrade is very strong as a counterattack capability. We'll see that later in this game. The Speed Banshee is kind of annoying that I don't have Cyclones to like kill those Corruptors anymore. I really do not like that. But I doubt that anything's going to change at that point. Like, they're still going to change things, I just don't think that's one of the things that they will change. So, now I went from 5 bases, I double expanded to 7 bases because that's just kind of strategically the thing that you do against slower hive-tech armies. They have less mobility, so that you take advantage of that mobility and you expand faster. So what I did here was I added Thors. I'm still trying to like mix ground units in with my air army. The Thors did alright, but I feel like I believe he's at like 0-0 upgrades or 1-1 or something, and I'm almost at 3-3. So there was definitely a big there was a big upgrade lead in that battle. So I'm not really sure about making Thors, and Thors are also so slow as well. It's so annoying. Like, just one battlecruiser. That battlecruiser was getting weak in the fight, so I just teleported it to a spot where I knew that the Zerg wouldn't have any army, and now it's just being a pain in the butt, denying one of the Zerg's only mining bases, or only potential bases on the map. And like, that gave me a lot of control in the later stages of the game. But yeah, this is like the late game now, and it is 19 minutes into the game, and we're essentially mined out. We were only on like 1 or 2 actual mining bases, so like this is the most that you'll get from a turtle stage. You should always be looking to like just build up the better army and then take an engagement against the opposing player, rather than turtling and splitting the map. Splitting the map is something that you just... It's like floating your buildings to the side of the map and then going AFK, trying to make the game go on as long as possible. That's just... It's not strategically correct anymore, and those Thors are doing so poorly. they do bonus damage to armored, but they were not taking care of those Corruptors as fast as I'd like them. So Thor is definitely not the right answer. I guess like just from that point on, you just make more battle cruisers, and then I don't know. But so that's like that's what TvZ is looking like. I'll probably make a couple videos about TvP, TvT when the time comes, to give you guys a little sneak peek of how Mech is working with the new patch. Stay tuned, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.